Welcome back, friends, to another surprise guest Sunday on 1111. Today is going to be very different during our week that focuses on new pursuits because I have snagged someone who is right in between pursuits. Because I think it would be super helpful for people to know that if they are in between different things and they're not quite sure what they're going to do next, that they are not alone. I will tell you, however, that the person we have on today will always land on her feet. She may be crazy about dogs, but she's got a cat's 9 lives and she will always end up being successful. So, with that said, mystery guest, will you please tell us who you are and what career you recently left?
Hi, my name is Emily STREDWICK, and I actually just left a career in retail that I've been in since, well, it's been about 22 years, I would say. The most recent job that I had was the last 6 years, and I just decided, I woke up one day and it came to me that I was ready to move on.
That is an extremely brave thing to do. And I will tell you, if you've been into this for 22 years, that means you started working when you were about 6.
16, so close.
Oh, okay. Okay, that makes me feel better. And you had a pretty sweet job, all puns intended. Tell everybody what you were doing.
I was a district manager for a candy store. It was a wonderful job for a wonderful company that I really, truly enjoyed. A lot of laughs and fun, blood, sweat, and tears, all of the above. Very rewarding. But I think, it was just my time.
How did you get into that in the first place?
I was thinking back about that, and I've actually been recruited from job to job for the last, I would say, probably 7 jobs that I've had at least. I had worked in handbags for about 12 years prior to that. And the lady who recruited me from one company to the next called me 6 years later, talked to me about the company. I was like, wait a second. The first time you called me made sense. I don't really make the correlation between handbags and candy. And I took a risk and ended up interviewing, and I flew out to Florida for the interview. I met the CEO, I met multiple people in HR. It was kind of a whirlwind, and it just felt like it was the right leap to make. And I will say that I'm very glad that I did. But I also learned that just because something is right for a certain length of time doesn't mean that it has to be always. And I think that's okay. And I've learned to accept that because that took me a long time to figure that out.
Wow, I think a lot of people never figure that out. So that's so healthy and helpful that you did. How did you decide to make a fresh start? Because it's pretty scary to face the unknown. What made you finally make that step, even though you didn't know where you were going to next?
I had a really difficult conversation with a young girl from one of the stores that I had. She called me one day and full of anxiety and stress and in tears, full on tears, and said she's just not having a good time anymore. And it broke my heart. She's somebody who is one of the sweetest girls I've ever worked with. And she's very young in her career. And I had to tell her, I was like, look, it's a candy store, and any job should never make you feel this way. And then I was thinking about it, and then I was realizing all of the anxieties over the last past several years that I was having, and how, in her words, I wasn't having a good time. And though I would talk myself kind of off the ledge with all of the opportunities that I had, I got to travel to so many cool places. My district was a dream, I would say. I got to go everywhere from Washington, Colorado, Idaho, Utah, Hawaii, and Southern California. So it was like a true dream, but I was traveling and not enjoying the places that I was going. So, though it was fun and great, there wasn't really the time to do that. And then also taking a PTO day, getting phone calls at all hours of the day, not really taking your time off, and just being attached to your phone 24 hours a day really just kind of got to me, I guess, is the best way to say it. And being able to walk away from my phone now is just the most wild feeling.
And I would imagine you've seen a difference in your health to a degree. Have you?
Oh my goodness, yes, for sure. My hair was turning white. I'm only 38 years old, and though that's normal, I'm a redhead, so it turns white instead of gray, which is totally fine. But it was crazy how much the last year has really impacted me physically. Of course, mentally, more so, but then I started to see it, and I was like, this just isn't right. So I definitely felt it. But since I've left, I've had time to be able to do things that I never had time to do, like go to the beach and not have to take my phone with me. I'm recently working on doing Rover just on the side for fun while I figure things out. And man, the joy that these dogs I've gotten to spend time with, that they bring to me. Anyone I talk to, they're like, whoa, like you're so happy and you're back to your fun loving, easygoing self. And it
Oh,
just feels good.
thank you for already answering my next question, which was I was going to ask, what are you doing now while figuring out your next steps? Could you go into it a little bit more for people who are not familiar with Rover? What is it?
Yeah, so it's actually an app where you can go on to have somebody either walk your animal. It can be dogs, cats. I'm sure there's other animals that you can watch on there too. They can do dog sitting overnight at your house, or they can come over to my house and I can watch them. And it's actually really cool. I found out about it through my own animals when I had to have somebody watch them to go on a trip. I had a dog that I adopted that just had more energy than you can imagine a little body having. And I just refused to make her stay at home all day long. So she went to doggy daycare and it was one of the best things for her. And then I was always very jealous of the idea of getting to do that. And then I just never had the time. So now when I realized one day, like, whoa, I have the time, I've always wanted to do this, and I started doing it, and it's been pretty incredible, actually.
And how long has it been since you left your job?
So it was the very beginning of April.
And you had just moved to a new place, right?
Yes. So just moved into my apartment in February, but I had been in California for about a year and a half.
How are you feeling about things? Are you nervous, concerned, liberated? How does it feel?
You know, all of the above. I think it's kind of a roller coaster. I will say the first feeling I had was scared just because I'm not a quitter, but then I realized like this isn't a negative thing. It's not a bad thing. And I think in my mind, it always kind of had that negative connotation with it. But when you do something for yourself and you realize that that's okay to do, that's liberating. And just to be able to do things like I said, like being able to go to the beach and not take your phone with you, or something I've always wanted to do, which is spend more time with animals. Like it's just a very exciting feeling, I guess. But I would say all of the above for sure at one point or another.
Mm.
Depends on the day.
And what's been the biggest challenge of not knowing what to expect next?
I think just trying to take the time and figure out what I really actually want to do. I had a really good conversation with my mom the other day, who's been incredibly supportive. The day that I decided, I called her a couple days after because I was a little nervous to talk to her because I thought she was going to kind of, panic on my behalf. And I understand. But when I told her, she's like, Emily, you've never not worked. So this is a good thing. And I was like, you know what? It is a good thing. But to get her support and then that feeling. But then, yeah, I think it's just taking the time to really sit down and decide, what do I want to do? Because I've never really had to stop and think about it.
You are so prescient because you keep asking things that lead right into what I want to ask. So maybe you should be a psychic. Who knows? Oh, my next question was going to be, what do you want from your career now and going forward that may not have mattered to you in the past?
I think life balance. And I know that people think it's kind of a cliche, but I realized that I was truly living to work and not working to live, and life is short. It's very short, and we should enjoy it. So I think just being able to have that time when you take a PTO day to actually get to take the day off and not have your phone with you and actually enjoy the day. Have those self-care days that really aren't selfish, and a job that doesn't make you feel selfish for doing that, I guess are kind of some of the more simple things. I mean, I have some ideas of what I might want to do, but I think it's just how to start and where to go, and the unknown is a exciting and kind of scary feeling.
I think that's so wise of you to consider the work life balance. And that would prevent a lot of people from having heart attacks and all these different stress related diseases if they would find that sooner. So the fact that you're doing it before you're in your 40s and 50s, I just think is really healthy.
I appreciate that.
On the opposite side of that, what used to be important to you in your career that no longer matters to you at all?
I always wanted to travel for work. Always. Like, I grew up in Minot, North Dakota. I lived there for the first 25 years of my life. And I mean, I didn't fly in a plane until I was 18 years old. So I wouldn't say sheltered, but like didn't really get out a lot. And once I got to start to go out and see and do things, man, I was hooked. It almost felt like a drug where I just like getting to travel and be in a plane. And I still love it and I still enjoy it. But what I realized is I got to do it, which is exciting. I had a goal and I got to do it. That doesn't mean I have to do it forever. And There's a difference between getting to travel for work and be somewhere for work, though it might be a place that you love, but then getting to go to a place and actually get to spend time in the place and really enjoy where you are and take advantage of the places that you are. So, though I still would love to travel, I don't know that I need to do it for work. I think I'd rather have a career where I can step away and travel for fun. And then when I'm at work, I'm at work.
Yeah, huge difference. And it's just not the same. If you go to a city and you've got a few hours to go look at the sites or, eat the local cuisine, it's great, but you don't get to like immerse yourself in the experience. You're just kind of like on the fringes or something. I can't explain it, but it's different.
Yeah, and you feel a little guilty too. Like when, I'm here for work, work is paying for it, it's on their dime, you need to, and I, would be putting in more hours than I needed to because I was somewhere for work
Right.
instead of really enjoying where I was.
What can you share about yourself that might surprise people or they may not expect about you?
Oh man, that's a tough one. Really, I think just with my career the last few years, I've become more introverted than I ever was. Like I was always such an extrovert, and I'm sure 2020 didn't help that situation. But I kind of started to shut down, and I'm okay being alone from time to time, which I think is part of why I love animals so much because you get the company without having to be on all the time. And just with work and stuff, I would shut down. Like I remember I'd be at home and sitting in front of the TV with the TV off and not even like really realizing it just because I was so shut down. And that is something that I think if you met me, you'd never really realize that. But I'm hoping that with a career change and really a life change that I'll come out of that.
Well, I am a proud introvert. So if you don't come out of it, I can tell you it's still a wonderful life.
And I have nothing against it. It's just something that I never, ever, ever expected out of me, I guess. I used to be just a social butterfly, and now I'm just a very content, I guess I don't know what I'd call myself, but
Happy with your own company or something.
yeah, I think just being okay, just being alone. And, I think that's a good thing. And honestly, I think it's a healthy thing to be able to have that.
Yeah, I think so too. What are your 3 favorite movies or TV shows or books or entertainment things? What do you love?
So I can name at least 2 movies. It's so funny because I've been thinking about this, and I love anything from like the 80s and 90s, any of like those classic like the rom-coms and just that genre of movies. Some of my favorites, I don't know if I can narrow it down to 3 or pick 3, but I love Can't Buy Me Love
Oh,
and like Dirty Dancing, 16 Candles, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I can just sit and watch them hundreds and hundreds of times. A little bit more recent, but not much. Remember the Titans. It's such a feel-good movie, and there's so many different aspects of life, and I think relatable situations that kind of covers. And I love football, so I have several movies. A show that I've watched, I guess, since it started. It's so funny. I used to love The Real World when it was on.
oh my
Mhm.
gosh.
Way back when, so I always watched The Real World, but then from that show came The Challenge on MTV, and I still watch it to this day. It's just one of those shows, kind of a guilty pleasure, I guess. I just enjoy the competition, the drama, because I don't really have a lot of drama in my life, so it's kind of fun to watch it and entertaining. And I love to read, but I don't know that I have a favorite. Anything that can catch my attention in the first couple of chapters, I'm in.
If you could do anything in the world, what would it be?
If I could do anything in the world, there's 2 things. If I could do anything with animals or traveling. Traveling to, like, islands and exotic places like that would be, like, paradise.
Wow, I'll say. I was going to say, what are you looking forward to next? But that's kind of a trick question because it sounds like you may have an idea for something that could work for you next. Is that correct?
Well, I felt a little bit inspired the other day when I was actually walking one of the dogs that I'm watching, or he's staying with me right now. We were just on a walk, and I've gotten to really get to enjoy walks a lot more lately, which I love. And I have a love for organizing things. I really downsized where I live, and it forced me to do it even more than I used to do it in my house. And an idea kind of came to me, and you inspired me a little bit in our conversation before we started talking.
Yay, that you might be doing something entrepreneurial with your talent.
I'm sure hoping so. I have some ideas about potentially starting my own business, just in the idea stages, but after kind of talking to you and getting a little bit more inspiration and just you saying that you could see me doing something entrepreneurial really really excites me because I have been told that before, and I think it's kind of going back to that scary feeling, but if I can leave something that's not fulfilling me and potentially find something that is, like, how exciting is that? Something that I love to do and I could help others doing?
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Is there anything non-work related that you're looking forward to next? Like having a little bit more time, as you said, to go to the beach without a phone? Or what's fun for you right now that you're looking forward to maybe this summer?
I'm excited to, of course, the beach. I live in Southern California, and I swear there was a full year that I didn't go to the beach. I might have gone like once or twice. And again, growing up in North Dakota, like it's a dream to get to live this close to the water. So getting to enjoy that.
Tell people how many steps from the water you are. Do you know?
Oh man, I haven't counted, but I bet you it's less than 100.
It is. I can tell you the person who lives 2 doors down from you has counted, and it's 50 strides to the bay.
That's amazing. Like what? That's a dream.
Yes, exactly. It is a dream, and one that we don't take for granted. I think we know how fortunate we are. For those who haven't realized it, Emily and I are neighbors.
I have to say, living here is actually part of what inspired my change, is just being this close and realizing how beautiful the world is, and you pass it by every single day without appreciating it.
Okay, we're gonna say that's what you're looking forward to, maybe appreciating the world and your surroundings and all that
And
stuff.
living in the moment.
Oh,
Yes, for
yay!
sure.
Oh, we all need to do that, and I just think spring and summer are an especially fun and exhilarating time to do that because the moments are so vibrant and colorful and fun, and the smells are so rich and the sounds. Oh, I just think you've chosen a great time to focus on that. In our non-interview podcast episodes, we assign listeners a tiny task each day. What sort of tiny task would you like to assign to them today to encourage listeners to take a step forward toward what they really want, even if it's scary?
Honestly, think just taking, even if it's just 10 to 15 minutes each day for yourself, to yourself, to really do anything that it is that makes you happy, whether it's reading a chapter in a book, whether it's going for a walk outside, just doing something for you and just really living in the moment. Because I think that's something that I have now started to appreciate doing. And really, I was trying to do that while I was still working. And that's kind of what inspired me to just realize like life is passing me by so quickly. I'm lucky that I'm still young, but I don't want to wake up one day and be in the back half of my life and like I don't have any regrets now and I don't want to start now, I guess is what I'm saying. So I think just taking that time to yourself and appreciating it and learning that it's not selfish to take time to yourself, because to me I always felt selfish for doing it, which is crazy. Like thinking about that now and saying that out loud makes me so sad because I know I'm not the only one who feels that way. Taking time for yourself to take care of yourself is the best thing you can do for you and everyone around you.
You sound pretty enlightened and self aware for someone who's been so busy. It's amazing that we've managed to get that clarity. My next question was going to be if you have advice for anyone who wants to try something new but is hesitating due to fear. I know you kind of covered that in your last response. Is there anything you want to add with that in mind about the fear part?
Absolutely. I think if you realize that you are, how can I say this? If you're sad more than you're happy, or if you're stressed more than you're happy and enjoying what you're doing, though it may be scary, it can also be incredibly freeing and liberating. And if you keep the door closed, there's not going to be an opportunity. But the only way to really open the door is sometimes you have to force it open yourself, which is what I did, though it's scary. I think life can throw you curveballs, and that's some of the best times to have opportunity, and you have to just be open to it. But I think, just really making the decision and knowing that you're going to be okay, having faith in yourself, and being able to talk about it. And I think that's something for me, which I was so worried to tell people, like, I'm currently unemployed, but really it's kind of exciting. And I think, Joy, you were really somebody who inspired me because you're actually the first person that I told about it.
Oh,
And you just instantly made me feel like it's okay. So thank you.
oh, thank you. You keep getting me all excited about your answers to the point that I forget what I'm going to say. One of the things we usually do is we ask our Sunday people to give listeners a gift. In your situation, we would like to invite people to tune in a few months. If you would be willing to come back, Emily, once you've started your new thing, and if they come back, they can get a little gift that has to do with your new enterprise, if that's okay with you.
Oh, I would love that.
Yay! That'll be
And
so much
we
fun.
can give everyone more of a hint because I don't think I did a very good job.
Well, I didn't know if you wanted to keep it on the QT or not, so I didn't press too much. Well, let's put it this way. Tell people about the way you described your closet to me.
So I am obsessed with organizing things by color, sleeve length. There's things are folded a very specific way. It is so funny. I wish that my whole life could be as organized as my things. I love to organize. I love to sort things, and I would love to help other people do that.
I had mentioned how interesting it is that the gal we had on last week as our surprise guest literally is a declutterer. And you and I had also discussed how for in-person help, you're in the perfect area because you're surrounded by baby boomers who are affluent. So right where you could not have chosen a better area to move to than that. So I'm going to be very keen to follow your career and hopefully get to help you with that in any way I can. I'm so excited about that.
I wholeheartedly believe everything happens for a reason.
Yes.
And it's just literally since the day that I talked to you, like my whole outlook on everything is so positive. You have no idea. So thank you.
That's so amazing. Do you have any last thoughts that you want to share?
I think if there's things that people have thought about always doing, just do it. We
Mm.
only get one shot. Like I said, life is short. I've said that a few times. And I think just being able to take care of yourself physically, mentally, enjoying the things, the people, the animals around you, it's just really important to do that. And I guess not be afraid to do something if it's better for you. Actually, my first boss at the company that I just left, he told me, you don't owe anybody anything. And I
Oh,
really appreciate that, and it was in the back of my mind because I always felt so guilty because 'cause I'd been there for so long. They're fine without me. I think there's gonna be some adjustment period for some people, which there always is, just for all of us, but just to know if you're doing something better for yourself, if anybody is not supporting you in that, then maybe you should just look at that relationship a little bit differently, I guess.
and as you and I were discussing earlier, there's always a next adventure to go to for everybody involved. And as they say, what blesses one, blesses all. With that idea of doing things now that you've always wanted to, that harkens back to the very first guest we had when we started this podcast. The first gal we had on is 87 years old and she's just started a business. And she is teaching people to design their life after 70 years old. And one of her things is do now the stuff on your bucket list.
Oh, I love that.
Isn't that cool? So, revising your bucket list. So, one of hers, believe it or not, she lives on the East Coast. I'm not sure where, but one of the things in her bucket is go out to California to see family. And I'm like, you better add friends because you're seeing me when you're out here. So,
Oh, I love that. There's no time like the present, right?
exactly. And I see you doing that between the fact that you've got the most beautiful tan because you're taking time to just be out in nature. And you and I are recording this during Earth Week. Well, I call it Earth Week, the week of Earth Day. And Earth Day is a big deal for me because it celebrates our mother nature. There's so much about nature, and you and I live in paradise with the ocean water right there and the blue skies and the great temperatures year round. And I just think that what you've said is real food for thought for people to enjoy the moments in between. I can't wait to have you back. To everyone else, thank you so much for joining us. Please root Emily on to victory. And it would be really fun to see what you all think of her perspective and what she's thinking of doing and any tips you would like to give her. If you are an entrepreneur and you've already started this journey, if you have any things she wants to take into consideration. I will wish you all Cherise Som and Tuta.